His own Quran affirms the Injil. The problem is at the time of Muhammad, the Injil would have been what we have today, which every single member of the church would have affirmed. I challenge him to show me an Injil that rejects the Trinity. Show me on.
April D. DeMaconic. Go and Google the name. Dr. April D. DeMaconic. She is an expert on the Gospel of Thomas. She has written a book on it. And she
written a book? Not written a book.
Wait.
I've written a book.
How can you talk to these people? And you know why I'm doing this? I usually now I'm gonna go the hostile mode, and you don't want to see me in that.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
The Gospel of Thomas has a saying attributed to Jesus Christ. It states, God is not born of a woman. Now that is a clear contradiction with the doctrine of the Trinity, because Jesus is God and he was born of a woman.
First of all, everything he said is nonsense. Let me explain this very quickly. Modern scholarship does not affirm the idea that the Gospel of Thomas is a reliable account. Most scholarship, for some reason, like Bart Ehrman, who would also have investigated this, who is an atheist and a head of New Testament scholarship, and that includes Gospels outside of the New Testament, he would have said, no, the Gospel of Thomas dates to the 2nd century. Nowhere near the 1st century, and definitely not in the same vein of the source of Q, which was an oral or potentially written tradition he mentioned. Scholarship does not affirm that in its majority. He is quoting a very specific scholar to make that account. Most scholars reject it. The problem with this is because he's now said one, he's now buried the Quran, because now the Quran has to affirm everything that is found in the Gospel of Thomas. Oh no! There's some really spicy things in the Gospel of Thomas. Does the Quran affirm all those things? No! The Gnostics, would you affirm Gnostic belief? Now we know that the Quran is full of Gnostic teachings. For example, the infancy gospel, the Arabic infancy gospel of Thomas, that says that Jesus breathed life into clay birds and that he spoke from the cradle. That's not original to the Quran. That actually comes from these Gnostic Gospels that came hundreds of years after the time of Jesus.
Now the question is, I ask this question. The Quran mentions the word Injil, and even the writings of Paul mention one gospel. It doesn't mention...
There is one good news.
Sorry, no. Start again. If every time you're going to interrupt me, I'm going to start again. So the Quran mentions the term Injil, which means one gospel. Injil is not plural. It's a singular term. It cannot possibly be referring to, therefore, gospels. It cannot be. They are the ones imposing that on the Quran because they're blind. They have a Trinitarian lens. They have this church lens, which the Quran says is a disbelieving lens. Then what gospel are you talking about? Why do we have to accept Tom, Dick, the Gospel of Tom, the Gospel of Dick, the Gospel of Harry, the Gospel of Murphy, the Gospel of George?
Damn, little lady.
The Gospel of, the list goes on and on. And the Gospel of someone the Gospel of someone who laughs like a monkey. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen,
he made a big mistake. He just said it talks about Injil, not Gospel. Wait. Injil, he already affirmed, is an Arabic word for evangelion, which is Greek for gospel. He can't get out of this. And it's singular, meaning good news. So that's refuted. Second point, he said, made it very, very clear. He was like, oh, it's only the original. First of all, show me where it says original in the Quran. It doesn't say that. He adds to his deen. He does bid'ah and he innovates. Second of all, in the Arabic, and scholars will tell you this, Ma bayna yadayhi, it confirms what is in their hands. The hands of the Jews and of the Christians at the time of Muhammad. The original Injil was written in Greek, just like how you borrowed the word from Greek. Yes. So thank you very much. And he's like, oh, it can't be Greek because Jesus, are you going to say Jesus didn't speak Greek? How do you know that? Tell me that from the Quran. The Quran doesn't say that. It says that they only send prophets to speak in their home language. This was a Hellenized region. Jesus would have spoke Greek as well as Aramaic. And just like that, his points have been refuted.
When the Quran says that what they possess, the Quran means that there are remnants of the truth. We still believe that whatever is contained within the Gospels and in Torah, there are remnants of truth. There are true verses there that can be found that were originally given by Moses and Jesus. We have no doubt in that. We are quite consistent. We don't throw away the baby with the bathwater. Brother, don't show me anything. I'm talking. Okay, wait. Okay, we're not blind. We look into the Gospels and we take them seriously. The Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of Luke. I believe when the Gospel of Mark attributes the words to Jesus Christ that he said to a Jewish man, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord." We believe that. We believe that Jesus said that. We believe that.
You believe in the Bible.
So,
First of all, his first point. Oh, how do you know that Jesus spoke Greek and Aramaic? Simple. The actual gospel accounts themselves attested that he probably did. Why? Because he spoke with people. Pontius Pilate, who was a Roman, who would have only known Greek or Latin.
Latin, yes.
The best explanation for this is that Jesus also knew Greek. Simple. Second of all, it was a Hellenized region for hundreds of years. To be Hellenized means that you would have been owned by the Romans or the Greeks, and that would have meant that you would have most likely have spoken Greek. Brilliant. Refuted. Then he goes, forget what I just said about all these other Gospels possibly being the Injil. Let's pretend that actually Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the Injil. Yeah, we believe that some parts of it are the Injil. He just contradicted himself. He just spent the earlier part of the debate telling you it wasn't the Injil, and the Gospel of Thomas is the Injil. And now he's saying, actually, they are the Injil, but they've been corrupted. That's a different claim. So thank you for affirming that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the Injil the Quran talks about, but they have been corrupted. That's a different claim from saying that the Gospel of Thomas is actually the Injil. Now, is this going to help him? No, it's not going to help him. Why is it not going to help him?
Why?
Because the idea that the Injil was corrupted is not to be found in your Quran. First and foremost, it's bitter. Second of all, the idea that it's corrupted, you have to explain when it was corrupted. Was it corrupted before Muhammad, in which case Muhammad confirmed a corrupted book? Or was it corrupted after Muhammad, in which case we can check the earliest manuscripts to know what Muhammad would have known? And we can refute you because they say exactly what our Bibles say today.
there are remnants of the teachings of Moses and Jesus there. Even though they are corrupted, the Quran makes a very categorical claim in chapter 2, verse 79, that the books the Jews have written with their own hands, and then they claim these books are from God, are actually not from God. Actually, they are not from God. So what books? The scripture of the Jewish people, right? So the Quran, what is the Quran saying? What is the Quran saying then? Where is the contradiction? There's no contradiction. Okay, time is up.
The evidence I gave is strong evidence that yes, he probably did. The area was Greek, it was heavily Hellenized, and he spoke to Pontius Pilate, who would have likely only known Greek or Latin. There you are. Second point, he was like, watch them avoid this question. Show me one scholar that says that we still have the original manuscripts, which I'm guessing is what you're
I didn't say
of.
that. I didn't
No, you said the original Gospel of John.
Yes.
Again, restart it. You interrupted again.
Yes.
Did I ever say that I have made a case here for the original Gospels preserved as manuscripts?
No.
No.
Nothing.
Why? Because the Gospels preserved on manuscripts are written on palimpsest. No, sorry, not palimpsest. Papyrus. Papyrus is dried leaves.
Yes.
Papyrus degrades over about 10, 20, 30 years.
Right.
We would no academic scholar, Bart Ehrman, N.T. Wright, Daniel Wallace, Richard Carrier, would ever expect to have the originals. Likewise, we don't have the originals of the Quranic manuscripts, even though they were written on vellum, which is a form of parchment.
Stop! He's already dead.
Now he keeps trying to say, oh, the Quran makes it very clear in chapter 2. Was it 78, 79? I think it was 279. Let me read it out. So woe to those who distort the scripture with their own hands. Then say, this is from Allah, seeking a fleeting gain. So woe to them for what their hands have written, and woe to them for what they have earned. Did that verse say either the Torah or the Injil have been corrupted by the Jews or the Christians? No! All it says is that a group of them wrote something and claimed it was the Torah or the Injil. That's a massive difference. He's being deceptive.
His name is Bruce Metzger, the very teacher of Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman apostatized from Christianity when he saw all these problems. He left Christianity. Okay, Bruce Metzger was a believing Christian, and he wrote a book. He authored a book titled The Text of the New Testament. It's Reception, Corruption, and Restoration. Reception, corruption, and restoration. The title of the book is telling you the New Testament was corrupted. The Muslims don't have to say this. Don't come to the Quran and try to use the Quran to support your corrupted scriptures. The Quran will never support that.
What he was trying to conflate is the term corruption, meaning a change of text, with corruption, meaning a change of meaning. He wants to conflate those. So when Bruce Metzger writes about corruption, he's referring to the text. When he mentions in the Quran that the Injil is corrupted, he's trying to add to the Quran, saying the Injil in meaning was corrupted. Because his own Quran in Surah 4 ayah 157, sorry, says that Jesus was never crucified. That's a change in meaning. So the word corruption to him has to mean corrupted meaning. Bruce Metzger, Bart Ehrman use a scholarly term, corruption, to mean a text is changed. But you don't mean that. He means the meaning has changed. But his Quran never says that. Again, show me a verse where it says the Torah and the Injil, the meaning is corrupted. Show me it anywhere. He can't. Show me. Show me anywhere.
My time. Even if that's the case, ladies and gentlemen, if that's the case, he's claiming the Injil that is with the Christians. Which Injil? Because Christians were not homogeneous. They were not following one Injil. To this day, the Christians are not unanimous on scripture. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has 83 books. The Catholic Bible has 73 books. The Protestant Bible has 66 books. So what scripture? Which Injil? So when you say the Quran affirms the scriptures in the hands of the Christians, you are not united yourselves. How can the Quran affirm something you yourselves are not united upon? So what kind of stupid claim is this?
Look, they don't even agree on how many books are in their scripture. Notice he's conflating the Injil with the Bible. Again, my previous debate opponent made the same mistake. He's still doing it. Name me a single church that believes in any other than Matthew, Mark, Luke and John as the Injil, as the gospel. Name me any.
I will.
The Protestants, what do they say the gospel is? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. The Catholics, what do they say the gospel is? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. The Orthodox, what do they say the gospel is? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. The Oriental Church, what do they say it is? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John.
He's already dead.
The Syriac Church, every church that ever been agrees on this. He has to go outside the gospel to make his point. Ubay ibn Ka'b had 116 surahs of his Quran. Abdullah ibn Masud had 111 surahs of his Quran. How can the Quran affirm something that you don't even know what it is? Oh, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. He knows. You've just buried yourself again.
Trinity makes you blind.
Birmingham
You're
portfolio.
blind. Trinity
Birmingham
makes you
portfolio.
blind. Wait.
That's potentially
wait,
dated
brother.
before Muhammad.
Are you listening?
I am. I'm asking
We have
answers. You're not giving me them.
carbon-dated manuscripts going
Okay,
back to
name
the
one.
time of Birmingham parchment.
Right, that date's actually potentially before Muhammad.
Okay,
that
wait.
could demonstrate that the Quran was written before Muhammad.
Wait.
Right.
You just claimed the Birmingham parchment
Yes.
predates Muhammad.
Potentially
wait, you just
predates.
No, wait.
Yes.
Now you're saying potentially. You're adding
I
potentially.
literally said potentially.
Okay, wait.
That date's actually potentially before Muhammad.
Okay,
that
wait.
could demonstrate that the Quran was written before Muhammad.
Wait.
You know it predates Uthman.
Do you know how carbon dating?
Do you know?
Do you know how carbon dating works?
The Oxford study that they did on the carbon dating of the Birmingham portfolio, it's 3 surahs, so 18, 19 and 20. They did this study and they found that the range given is about 568 to about 645. The problem with
So he knows about it. Potentially,
Yes.
we have the Quran from the time of Muhammad and his companions. Potentially,
but
we do.
also
Yes?
potentially,
Yes?
if you listen,
What is the latest date given to that particular
645.
645.
When did Uthman standardize the Quran?
Okay, good.
When
good.
did Uthman standardize
Good,
the Quran?
good question.
Yep.
645 is the latest date.
Yep.
Yes?
According to the Oxford study. Yep.
And do you know how many companions of Prophet Muhammad were alive at the time?
Why is that relevant to what I just asked you?
Wait. When did Prophet Muhammad die?
No, it's-
When?
I just
what date? Chris, are you sincere in this?
632.
632.
When was Uthman?
So this,
when was it? You
this-
tell me the date.
Okay, the latest
I don't
date.
think you know.
Chris,
When was Uthman around? And why did he author the recension of the Quran?
Wait.
Tell me the date.
calm down. This is my field.
Tell me the date. Right, tell me the date.
Okay. Which date? That parchment, is there a word or a verse that is different to our modern copies of the Quran?
Yes, according to your histories. So, for example.
No.
Can
That
I answer?
parchment. No.
Can I answer?
Don't try to be
Can I
clever.
answer?
Don't try to be
don't
clever.
be clever about
Don't
it.
be clever
Don't
about
give an
it.
intelligent
Stick
answer.
to that parchment. Stick to that parchment. That parchment,
Right.
which is from the lives of the companions of Prophet Muhammad, whatever we possess in that, is there a word, or a sentence different to the modern copies of the
There
Quran?
are variants in it compared to what we have today. Yes.
Wait.
And of course,
Show me.
it
I'm
makes no
waiting.
sense.
I'm
It makes
waiting.
no sense.
I I read it on video. Go and watch my
read
video.
it on video?
I put it up,
Yeah.
and I read word by word,
Right.
and I
Which Qur'an was it written in?
Wait. Try not to be clever about this, man.
Don't be
It's not
clever.
going to help
Don't
you.
be clever,
It's
huh?
not- it's not
Don't
gonna-
be clever,
it's
huh?
not- You know what Qira'at is?
Different reading.
No,
of the Quran.
Qira'at is a style of reading. And
Yes, that's a reading
it
then.
can-
The British Foundation of the 10 Qur'at of the Noble Quran.
Okay.
According to the British Foundation. Surah Fatiha.
What is your claim before
I'm getting
you're
there.
giving
Look
me
at there.
evidence? Were the New Testament manuscripts corrupted?
Oh, now it's going to the
Corrupted.
Bible.
Wait.
Now it's
We'll
going to the
see
Bible.
if you're an
is it?
extremist or not.
No, it's
This
the
answer.
Bible. Quick, go to the Bible. It's
Where-
the Muslim shuffle. Do a
Okay.
little shuffle because you cannot answer the fact that
I
the
will.
Birmingham portfolios
Okay, I will.
predate Uthman. What
Chris,
that means,
Chris,
what
am I
that
going anywhere?
means, let me tell
Chris.
you, what that means is that the first standardized copies existed before Uthman made his recension. That means that your standard Islamic narrative
has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.
done.
What is
Refute that.
what is-
Refute that.
what- actually, the scientists are claiming that that animal, where the parchment came from, where the vellum, the skin came from, was killed in between these two dates, 568 to 645. That's when the animal was killed. It is very likely the animal was killed earlier. They produced a parchment. The parchment was kept in a store somewhere for 10, 20, 30 years, and then later on it was used. This is what the scholars and the scientists are saying. The writing can be later. The writing can be later. So there goes your point and your argument on its face.
My point is that it makes you need to give your evidence because the burden of proof is on you that they wouldn't have used that. Very
I don't need to
extensive
give any
material.
evidence.
No
Western
evidence.
scholars are
There
saying
are. No evidence.
okay.
No
wait.
evidence.
I'm gonna
give
play.
me scholars.
I'm gonna wait.
Give me any evidence.
Okay.
Notice he demands scholars for me.
Wait.
But he can just say it and float it out there.
People tend to listen to white people because they come across more intelligent and more learned. So let's listen to white
What do
people.
you ever get? What do you ever get against white people?
I don't have anything against white
Then
people.
why did you answer
I don't say
white
anything. I'm saying people tend to find them more interesting.
Right.
So I'm not
put it to
I'm
the
not
white
saying
people
anything.
than
So there is
I'm not interested in race.
there is a
For
white
some reason
scholar.
you guys are.
The person who actually wrote it may well have known the Prophet Muhammad.
I'm not denying.
Okay,
that. That's never
you're
mind.
not denying it.
I
You're
said
not
it
denying
came before
Okay,
Uthman.
Okay.
Why have you
You're
not
not denying
understood
it.
it?
Okay,
Did I not say
okay,
it was
okay,
written before
okay.
Uthman? Did I not say it's written before Uthman?
You see, wait.
Does that
wait,
address my point?
wait.
No, that was a total lot of waffle.
No. Is there a word or a sentence different in that copy to what we find in our copies today?
Wait, that is a lie. That is a lie.
wait,
Why?
wait,
Because that copy at the time was a consonantal resin. No diacritical
Okay,
marks. No
okay,
dot for dot.
okay,
However,
okay.
the Quran you have today does.
Okay, let me
So
rephrase.
technically,
Let me rephrase.
yes,
Let
there
me-
is a
let me-
difference.
okay.
And he knows
Okay,
there is.
okay. One
You've
of the
lost.
earliest copies of the Quran.
Was it before Uthman?
Found.
Was it before Uthman?
Found.
Was it before
There's a reason why
Uthman?
he's doing this.
You've lost.
There's a reason
You've
why he's
lost.
doing this. Okay,
You
it's a
cannot
very simple
affirm
question.
that it came
Very simple
before
question.
Uthman.
He cannot
Game,
answer it.
set,
He will
match.
not answer it. Is that copy in
Hafs.
Birmingham?
Hafs.
Okay, it's not. It doesn't say anything about Hafs.
You
I'm
said
not-
the Quran
and
today.
Hafs is not there. Hafs
Is-
is not. Hafs is not even born. Hafs is not even born.
I know. Your Quran doesn't even date back to Muhammad.
You people are so ignorant.
You've just refuted the
Okay,
Quran.
wait. So this is why.
Hafs wasn't at the time of Muhammad.
Wait. The Qur'an.
you've just refuted the Quran.
The Qur'an.
Hafs wasn't even at the time of Muhammad.
Wait. Yeah. So you
Thank
keep
you.
mentioning
That's-
are diacritical marks
Right?
part of the consonantal ductus?
They are not part of the
So
continental
shut up
resin.
then. Shut up and let me talk.
Wait.
Shut the hell up.
The Muslims to blame. The
Shut
Muslims.
the hell up.
Do the diacritical marks
This
change
is
the
very
meaning?
painful for you.
Do
I
the
know.
diacritical marks
Okay,
change the
wait,
meaning?
wait,
Answer.
okay.
Answer.
When
Do
did-
the diacritical marks change the meaning?
When did they come?
Do the diacritical
When did they
marks.
come? When did they come?
The diacritical marks. Long after the time of Muhammad.
Thank you.
Not for
So shut
centuries.
up.
What?
I'm talking about the
You
early
just
period.
affirmed what I said.
I'm talking about.
You just affirmed what I
Okay,
said.
No.
You've just
no.
you just admitted
No.
that there is
No.
a difference
Wait.
between what was then and what we have now.
Okay.
Thank you, Adnan.
Thank you,
Finally,
So why are diacritical marks important for him?
because they changed the meaning.
But they don't exist in this parchment.
Exactly, so it's not
what
the
the hell are
same
you talking
then.
about?
The
What
Quran
the
back
hell are you
then
talking about?
in the Birmingham portfolio cannot be the
first of all,
same that you
first of
have
all,
today.
Why these people will not answer a straight question?
These people. No. He called me every name under the sun. He said these people.
There's a reason
This is what happens
why
when you
don't
lose a
let me
debate.
talk?
Because he just insults you. He just makes things up. I'm an extremist. I'm insincere. He told me to shut up. Have I ever told him to shut up? Have I ever said he's an extremist? Have I ever said these things? No.
Chris.
I want to talk about the argument.
Can you answer
He
my
doesn't
simple
want
question?
to. I just given you it.
Nice.
Do you want me to tell you again?
I want everyone to see this behavior.
What do you mean this behaviour? You call me an extremist, you snatched
it's a
his
simple
phone,
question.
you call me insincere, you told me to shut up.
What part
Dude, and he tries to take the moral high
I'm gonna
ground.
ask the question
He
again.
tries desperately
ask-
to take the moral high
No.
ground. Do the diacritical marks change the meaning?
Okay.
Tell me now.
I'm going to answer the
Tell me
question.
now.
I'm going to answer the
Right,
question.
go.
I'm going to answer my question.
Okay, go.
Okay. The Birmingham copy of the Quran.
It's like it's stuck on loop. It's like okay.
I know why you're not answering my question.
You
I
say,
want
I literally
Christians to
asked
see.
you the question.
I want Christians to see.
Whoa.
Why is your
Do they
guy?
change the meaning?
Why is your guy not
Do
answering the question?
they-
I'm not talking about diacritical marks.
then give them
That's a
time to
separate
answer.
question, separate topic that we can address. No problem. I will address it. I'm not going anywhere. People who know me, they know me. I don't run away from questions.
Right.
Do you know the word without diacritical marks?
Do you understand my question?
Yes. Do you know the word without diacritical marks?
you-
Do you know the word without diacritical marks? Do you know it? Do you know it? Do you know it?
How it is written, transcribed by a scribe, and how our copies are transcribed, or what they look like, the words, are they exactly the same, or are they different?
Okay, so his question is very carefully formulated, and the reason why is because he wants to get out of the accusation that there's differences in meaning. So what he's doing is he's saying, if you get a consonantal rasim, which is what the manuscripts are written in, we agree on this, you can then compare this to a consonantal rasim later on. The problem with that is that the detail that then defines what the word is, what the meaning is, comes later, and there are variants and there are differences. This is why he keeps saying, don't talk about diacritical marks. Because as soon as I bring that up, his whole argument falls.
The moment I mention the companion of the Prophet of Islam, they just don't shake. They don't
How?
No, you know why? You know why? They have nothing from Jesus. Nothing from his companions.
Notice he's
nothing
changed
from
the topic.
eyewitnesses.
He's
The
changed
earliest,
the topic.
You know, wait.
He's changed the topic.
The words as they are transcribed in the Birmingham parchment, and the words as they are transcribed in our modern copies of the day, 2022, are they different? Words or sentences? Simple question.
Simple, here we go. You don't know what the words are because you don't have the diacritical marks to distinguish them. You only know. No, he just told you you don't. Go on, read it. Read in Arabic what so 18, 19, and 20 are
Read it.
without diacritical marks. Read it now. Use the
Those who
Arabic
say
there.
The Quran is corrupt. Please stand up. Please stand up.
We're all standing. We all think it's corrupt. Don't use that phone. Use that phone.
Please stand up.
Wow.
And then someone's
Wow,
going to
this
go
is
there.
bad.
Snoop Dogg. Okay, ladies, astaghfirullah. I shouldn't. We're discussing the Quran, so we should.
I know, you're mocking it.
Can you
Put
see?
that away, put that
Christians,
Just
away.
put it away.
See how
I want you to read from that
How
Quran.
agitated they are. How agitated they are. Look at.
Adnan
how-
can't read
look,
from that
okay,
Quran
I can't read
because
it.
it doesn't have the diacritical marks.
Ladies,
Put that and prove me wrong right now.
wait,
Go on,
read
put it down. Put it down right now and prove it right now.
Wait. Question.
Why are you bringing leaves off the floor?
I'll show you.
My days.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
Muslims, what
I'll
is
show
going
you.
on?
I'll
What
show
is
you.
going on?
I'll show you. Do they look similar?
No. Hey.
Do they look similar in shape? Do they look similar in shape?
This is the day Adnan
Do they look
lost his
similar?
mind.
Do they look similar?
You're
Do they look similar? Do they look similar? Do they look
Mate,
similar?
this
This is the level.
Read that.
Back to the Quran.
Read that. Don't
use
use
that
that. Use that. Put that away. Just read this.
Put that away.
Read.
Put that
But I want
away.
you to tell me what this says.
Ladies and gentlemen,
No.
okay, why are they dying over this exercise?
Because you don't know
why?
Arabic.
Correct the mundo.
You just don't say anything.
This is Taha from the 1st century.
Is
of
Taha requiring diacritical marks?
Okay.
Very simple. Does it need diacritical marks?
And this is Taha.
Listen.
Today. Okay.
What he is doing is he's basically showing you half of a sentence and asking if that's the full sentence. No.
Ma anzalna.
Do they require diacritical marks? Do they require diacritical marks? Do they require diacritical marks? I want you to read this.
Okay. Okay.
You can't read it.
Do you know Arabic? And my
Does every Arabic letter require diacritical marks?
Wait.
Answer.
Do you, Chris, come back here. Come back here for a second.
Come here.
back for a
here.
second. No.
Does every letter of
Chris,
the Arabic
Chris,
language
why
require
are you
diacritical marks?
so agitated?
Guys, I've given him time.
I showed you the evidence.
I'm an extremist.
And I can
I'm
go
insincere.
through the entire chapter.
I'm a liar.
I
I
can
have
go through
learning
the entire
difficulties.
chapter, and you will see every single word there is transcribed in exactly the same way as we find it in our copies. And he's
Despite
saying
the
that's
fact
not
that
the
one
case.
has
He's
textual
saying that's not the case.
critical
I have
marks
physical
and the other
evidence.
doesn't.
I have
That's
physical
literally
evidence.
impossible.
Now, ladies and gentlemen,
Wow.
we have physical evidence to show that our first copies of the Quran
Which are incomplete.
were written exactly the same way
They
as
don't
we
have
write them
diacritical
today.
marks.
Okay, wait.
They don't have diacritical marks.
Wait. Now,
That's not possible,
now
Adnan.
that that's established.
That's not established.
now
That's my
it's
entire
established.
point of my argument. That's
I
a lie.
pose, if you still believe that these people are doing justice to you, okay, then you really have to
Notice
think
the
over this.
comment.
You really have to think
He
about
attacks
it.
me
They are
because
doing
he cannot
injustice to
attack the
Muslims.
argument.
They lie on
This is the
Muslims.
sign
They
of a
lie
man
on
who
our
has lost the
scripture.
argument.
They are blatant liars.
Unfortunately.
Don't listen to
Notice how
them.
he
Even
calls me a
including
liar?
this channel, SOCO channel. They're a bunch of liars.
There you are.
Let's go.
Bye bye, Adnan. I thought you said you won't run away. Shamsi would be proud, Adnan. Shamsi would be proud. You got your running shoes on. Let me read it. Let me read. This is from the same surah in the Birmingham portfolio. Let me read. This is Surah Ayah 44. In that situation, protection belongs to Allah. But the word protection in different Qur'at is different, meaning some variants of the Quran have different words. Let's see what the different words are. Hamza, Al-Kasa and Al-Khalaf read it as, in that situation, authority belongs to Allah. A textual variant in Surah 18, Ayah 44. That wasn't hard. I managed to show a difference that Muslim dawah teams affirm, and he's still saying it's the same as the Quran today. Question, which Quran? Which Qira'at? He can't answer it, which is why he says, ignore the diacritical marks. Ignore them. Don't want to talk about them. Because as soon as he talks about them, you have the fullness of the word in Arabic. And when you have the fullness of the word, you know there are variants. And if there are variants, the Quran is false because the Quran says that Allah would guard his word. Evidently he hasn't. Perfect preservation is a lie told to Muslims they cannot defend. And now you finished. Stop lying to Muslims. Come to Jesus Christ. God bless you all. Have a lovely day.